Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Homebrew. We're here with another couple of homebrews. We have an SD beer. What is that, Cooper? What is that again? SD.
Standard definition beer.
Standard definition beer. It's just a normal ass beer. And then later on, we have a Mexican lager, I believe.
No.
We don't?
Hazy IPA.
Hazy IPA, I believe. Yeah. Well, there you go. We got that going on. I guess the Mexican lager is for next.
Yeah. Some of our listeners have been emailing me and saying, "Oh, I brew a Mexican lager." Since our episodes about that, and they want to kind of share, like, well, if you want to just taste yours, mine next to yours, we could do that. And yeah, I don't know if it'll be a side thing or we'll judge them individually, but we got one already, and there's some others that might be coming in. So
nice.
Thank you.
And we have ours. So next show we're going to do R3.
Yes.
Mine's going to win, by the way.
Okay.
Mine's so good. I love mine.
I made a dry hopped side version of mine.
Look at that.
That's beautiful.
Cooper or Shar, when you drop beer off, man, I'm sorry I missed you. I was going to offer you a little taste of mine, but then I was like, I don't know, is that ethical? I don't know.
Well, maybe we need to talk about some details for later on. We don't not right this second, but I wonder if it might be an idea when we get the Dr. Hombre together to judge. Maybe we want to record at your place or something and have Taryn maybe like randomize them so we don't know whose is whose.
You lost me at record at my place. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Well, we can record it. We can record at the Grenade and do the same thing. But it might be interesting to try to do something where we kind of don't know whose is whose, and we try to judge them blind. And just a thought.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. You're right.
We can talk about it
before
off
we
air.
get into Colin's beer, Colin's a holdover guest from our last show. I want to, of course, mention our sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals, and thank them very much for supplying the show so you don't have to. Well, not supplying, but sponsoring the show. You know what I mean? You go to 5starchemicals.com/homebrew-club-program today. Right now, you can do it. Wherever you want, wherever you are, your neural uplink, whatever you want to do. And join their homebrew club. It's totally free. You can still stay in your homebrew club, but it's a homebrew club program where they feed you information. They feed you information and topics on their products. They will give you some free swag. They'll give you the chance to try new products that come out into the market that nobody even knows about yet. Something cool that you haven't even heard of. All that kind of stuff. They're lovely people. They've been supporting this show for, I think they were our first sponsor on this show. We wouldn't do it without them.
They were the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember the day you called me. You are on a sponsored podcast by 5 Star Chemicals.
What a dumb thing to tell you.
Our main sponsor. Yeah.
Anyway, check them out. 5starchemicals.com. Colin, welcome back, man.
It's like you never
It's been such a long time.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's good to see you. You're kind of wearing the same clothes, though. So maybe we'll need to do a welfare check on you, make sure you're doing okay. So what beer is this? What's a 5D?
It is a German Pils.
German Pils. See, there we go. You are a lager brewer, man.
So that's what I categorized it at. We'll see what happens.
Okay. So you're unsure necessarily.
Yeah, I tried something different. We'll see what it comes out as.
Okay. As Wesley Willis would say, different is good.
Find out.
Yeah. Yeah. When a home brewer says different, that's maybe you should be a little weary about it.
I did something different.
Yeah. I got pond water and just fermented with that.
I squeezed my shorts into the beer.
All right, Cooper, start us off, man.
Yes. Okay. Beer at a nice fill level.
By the way, I want to say, I'm going to interrupt you. This beer is like, it's so yellow, it's almost white.
Like neon.
Like it's like SRM 1.
It's like you're
profoundly pale.
You cannot get paler than this. You can't.
It's none more pale.
It's like vitamin BP. It's bright. It's almost neon bright yellow. Like it's just so light. Okay. So in the nose, I got a light sulfur in it. And it, at first I was saying it kind of blew off a little bit quickly. It wasn't, so the character of sulfur matters. And this is a little brighter, it seems like, than the kind of standard, it's not like really an eggy or really rude sulfur, but it's also not like the really soft kind of sulfur compound. It's like, just a faint light DMS cooked corn thing in some lagers. There's something a little sharp about it. I think there might be a little hydrogen sulfide, a little H2S. I'm going to say it's just a hint eggy, and it does blow off, which tells me it's a pretty volatile version of that. So it's there and it's kind of hanging in there, but it's not so heavy that it's like, oh my God, that's awful. The hops are actually quite evident here too, with a nice floral impression, a hint of spice. The malt is just a low, clean, granny bready, really nice note there. The beer seems like it's pretty cleanly lagered. I'm not getting any diacetyl, no acetaldehyde or anything here. And yeah, that sulfur is kind of blowing off, or my nose is just getting desensitized to it. The beer is beautiful, 3 out of 3 for appearance. Need we say more? It's brilliantly clear, yellow gold, yellow, some goldish, tendencies, but not going too far into that territory. It's not straw. It was just a nice, bright, yellowy, rich color. Head sticks around very well, mostly finer bubbles. Did I mention excellent clarity? Yes. Okay, I did. Flavor wise, this is a clean and it's a somewhat bitter edged version of the German Pils. The German Pils is coming through fairly well. And I'm getting some sulfur in the flavor too, a little bit, but it's not heavy or annoying. But it's just a low greeny.
It almost lightens it up a little bit.
Yeah, and
the sulfur, it lifts some of the bitterness up a little bit.
Something's lightening it. Yeah, it's a very dry finish. Seems like a clean fermentation, good clean lager fermentation. Nice medium hop flavor, mostly floral. A little bit of the herbal floral in there too, but yeah, there's something that's just a little bit biting about it. I think it might be because of the dryness that there's this kind of slight bitterness or minerality that comes into it, like a little bit too sulfatey, but it's a clean and dry lager otherwise, just really sippable, drinkable, good. And so the beer is, I guess you could say it's crisp, but I'd say it's more like refreshing, but with a hint of an edge there too, like that. It's not astringency, but it's probably still just the bitterness, but there's something a little edgy that also kind of bites your tongue a little bit. It's not as soft and quaffable as some. There's no warmth here. It's not creamy or anything. It's actually very, medium light bodied. Has somewhat of a almost watery impression to me overall. It's just, it goes down, goes off your tongue, and you're left with that bitterness, and it dried off and it's gone. Just an interesting little bite there. This is overall, it's a quite drinkable and enjoyable German lager, and a style is, mostly the lighter things to play off of. You want to, have, that nice German Pils malt, but also the German hops and some sulfate in your water to let the hops, play off of that. I think I would like just a touch more of that. The Pils malt character is somehow just getting a little lost here. Or maybe less bitterness. Or you could also just attenuate it just a touch less. It's just very dry. And also cleaning up the sulfur, of course, that's going to help a lot. But so it's a fine point. It's super sippable and clean, nice as it is. I just want to feel a bit more substantial. It's just still Pils. It's not, you don't want it to go towards like German Leicht beer or something like that. But I liked, despite the sulfur, I really liked the aroma. And then when I got into the flavor, that it changed a little bit. And it's just like, it's too dry. That's all I'll say. I gave it a 37. I think it's a really good German Pils. Too dry and too edgy, too minerally. Oh, that's all.
You mean like, it's really like Char, too edgy.
I could drink, too dry.
I'm edgy, man.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I got. Char.
Okay. Very good.
So, Colin, thanks for sticking around with all of us and all of our nonsense. Thanks for sharing this beer. It's a 5D German Pils. Bottle inspection, check that box. It's appropriate. The hiss when I opened it up was real low, but that was due to the high fill more than anything else, I believe. So thank you for the high fill. Aroma, I got sort of a low aroma overall. This is also, in the last show, we judged one of your beers, and it sat around out for a while. This has been out for over 3 hours. And like your previous one, I think it's gotten better with being out just on the counter at room temperature, 76, 77, 78 degrees here. I kind of agree with Coop about the sulfur. I don't think it's as prominent for me as it is for him, but I do get a little sulfur here that it's not H2S. H2S is that rotten egg pungent thing that tends to blow off. I didn't get this when I opened it with the H2S. I'm not getting it now, but it's to me kind of an appropriate amount of sulfur for a lager. What I didn't get before is maybe a tiny bit of smoke character, not like a smoked beer, but related to that sort of sulfur, maybe more like a matchstick. But again, that's what's on a matchstick is sulfur compounds. None of it's bad, right? I'm not trying to say this is a bad aroma. It's what you expect from a Pilsner is some degree of sulfur through the whole pint. The aroma is low overall. I get a low spicy sort of noble hop aroma, a low Pilsner malt aroma, which I was surprised to not get more of a Pilsner malt aroma. And in fact, that seems to have gone down. Whatever Pilsner malt aroma I was getting before seems to be somewhat absent. Pilsner malt has it's got a very unique, perfumey, identifiable character to it. And some of it comes across as sweetness, even though it's not the sweetness. It's sort of that perfumey Pilsner character. And for a Pilsner beer, that's really, it's hard to pick out. And that's, to me, kind of the flaw in the aroma. It's not a process flaw. It's maybe a recipe flaw. Maybe it's age. I don't know. But I'm not getting that Pilsner malt character in the nose that I'm expecting. I get more like, I made a note, more like an American light lager aroma. It's just very low. It's good. It's there. But kind of the point of that aroma in the American light lager is to be as low as possible. And a Pilsner should be a little more than that. So I gave this 7 out of 12, appearance 3 out of 3. This beer is crystal clear. I mean, if you could make this, we held this up earlier. This is like SRM 1, SRM 0.5. I mean, can you have fractional SRMs under a 1? I think you can. This probably will break people's analytical equipment if they try to freaking figure out what the SRM of this beer is. I mean, this is just nuts. I've rarely seen, this is an accomplishment, Colin. I mean, holy cow. It's crystal clear. It's super pale light straw. It's as close to an SRM1 as I've probably ever seen in a beer. The head is low and persistent. I mean, I poured some of this out of the bottle, but I mean, come on, it's tiny, but that bottle's been open for 3 hours, man. It's still giving me a ring around the glass. So well done. That's 3 out of 3. Flavor, initially the flavor, it's malty. I get more like a two-row malt flavor than a Pils malt flavor. It's not bad, but it's not what I expect from a German Pils. Bitterness comes up to balance that kind of low level of malt in mid-palate. In fact, it kind of tilts the balance toward the bitterness, which is interesting because this is not a super bitter beer. It's not an IPA. This is not it's not a high IBU beer, but it's got malt flavor. And as you get from kind of mid-palate to the finish, that bitterness just kind of keeps climbing up. Again, never to a point where it's, 50 IBUs or 100 IBUs or anything crazy like that. But it does, into the finish, to me, tilt toward bitter, which is good. It's well attenuated. There's no off flavors, 12 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel, body's light. Carbonation is medium low. There's no warming. It's not creamy or astringent. The carbonation is a little lower than expected, so I gave it 4 out of 5. I mean, a Pilsner doesn't have to be, it's not Belgian where you have to have that cage and the cork and that thick glass to keep it from exploding at the store. But it also should be, I think, a little more carbonated than at least this particular bottle was. Overall impression, I gave it a 7 for a total of 33. I really like this beer. It has no obvious off flavors or aromas. We talked about in the last show, if I were at a brewery, hanging out, having a nice afternoon, I would drink several of these and have a good time, and I'd enjoy my day, and I wouldn't be smashed, and I'd go home and I'd be happy. In terms of making a Pils, it lacks some of the character that really defines what a Pils is, which is why this is in the very good category, generally within style parameters. Excuse me, I don't want to. I should just burp on air. What the hell? It has some minor flaws, and the flaws aren't technical flaws. I think they're recipe issues. It's just lacking that Pilsner malt character, and that to me is lacking the carbonation. And those two things are really kind of keep pointing me away from this is the German Pils to, oh, this is some other kind of beer instead. It's a good beer. I give this, in the boxes at the bottom, a lot of times people kind of gloss over these things. Technical merit, to me, it's flawless. Intangibles, it's wonderful. Stylistic accuracy, it's like a box-ish back from being a classic example. And that to me is my perspective is that's a recipe issue and it's not a process issue. And we'll hear about in a second how right or how horribly wrong I am. So thank you, Colin. I appreciate you sharing.
He's going to tell us I brewed this with no Pils malt whatsoever.
It was 100% pale chocolate.
Yeah.
It's funny, Shar, you mentioned the carbonation because like that head is perfect. I think the carbonation's great on this bottle. I was like, when I pour it, it's very active. It gets active in approximately 2.9 seconds. Yep. It's just there. So I think that's really great. I like the beer tremendously. I would, smelling it right off the bat, it is a little it's almost like a red apple skin kind of thing. But that goes away, maybe like a light melon, and that could be from the hops. I'm going to guess that there's some new school hops in the aroma. I don't know. We'll see. Tasting it, it is a little aggressively bitter, but I think that's maybe what you want in this style. If you're an IPA drinker who likes lagers, this is the beer for you. I would give this a 42. I think it's a fantastic beer. I would drink this. I would buy this at a bar. I would be on the annoyed side because it's too bitter. And I'll give it a 40. I'm going to take it down because it's too bitter for me. It lasts too much, but everything else is fucking awesome. This is a great beer.
So in the guidelines too, as I'm going back through them, it says medium to high bitterness lingering into the aftertaste along with a touch of malt and hops. So, but it has to have that touch of malt and hops with it.
Yes.
The other thing is in the mouthfeel, may have a flinty, minerally sharpness in some examples. So you have to allow for the range of style. Some of them can be more like this.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, it is leaning towards that flinty, minerally side of the style. And if you really like that, this is the beer for you. I could come up a few points, reading that too. But
I think either just a little more malt or preferably a little less hops. And that's a banger.
And carbonation is so hard we've talked numerous times on this show about how hard it is to get carbonation right at a homebrew level, whether you're bottle conditioning or filling from a keg. And I could easily accept that I may have had, I got a low hiss on opening. I didn't get quite the head that you did, JP. And that's easily bottle variation. And I can, I'm not going to slag the whole beer and give it a terrible score because my one bottle happened to have maybe not optimum carbonation. But I don't know. I want to find out about what this malt bill is or extract bill or all that stuff.
Hit it up, Colin. Let's go, dude. Talk about your beer.
So there is no Pilsner malt on this beer.
I was totally right. I totally called it.
It's just that's the only thing that's missing. Otherwise, it's great.
Yep.
Well, okay, what did you do?
It is 100% Weyermann Vienna malt. So
Really?
This is 100%
Wow.
Vienna malt.
Yes.
Colin, what is wrong with you? Why would you do this? Prompted you to do this?
Vienna lager. I'm calling this a Austrian Pilsner.
Yeah.
It is
Jesus Christ.
and it's Styrian Golding hops all the way through.
You got me.
So
dude.
it's brewed like a German Pils, but all Austrian ingredients.
That's funny.
I never tasted anything really like this when I was in Austria.
And I'm like, what degree Lovabond? Because I know you get different. Well, or maybe it's not, or even Munich is not. How'd you get this pale with 100% Vienna? Like, I have questions.
It's decocted as well.
No shit.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yep.
What strange magic did you use to make this beer?
It's just so I took just Weyermann Vienna base. I mean, just the normal. I bought a bag of it, been playing around with it. So 100% of that. So it's 10 pounds. Took it, did initial strike temperature at 140 for 10 minutes. Then took a third of it out, boiled it for 15 minutes, dumped it back in, raised the entire mash to 162 for 30 minutes. So I recirc. So I do a Herm system. So it's recircing the whole time. So I think that helps with clarity significantly.
Yeah.
I don't know about color per se, but anyway, so just that single decoction toward the end. I do the 162 rest for the glycoprotein, which I think helps with head retention pretty significantly. So then for the hot bill, again, Styrian Goldings all the way through. So a 60-minute addition of 2 ounces, a 20-minute addition of 1 ounce, and then a 5-minute addition of half an ounce for 30 IBU. Original gravity was 49, final gravity was 8, so it's 83% attenuation, so it dried out pretty significantly.
Yeah, it's very well attenuated.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the Weyermann webpage, and both the Weyermann Vienna and the Vienna Bark malt are like 2.7 to 3.8 Lovabond. I mean, holy cow, dude. Like, what? I can't get over that.
Yeah, I was shocked it came out that light too. I was expecting something a little more.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Vienna lager, you need to use some additional malt to get the color. I can't just use 100%. So I just was curious to try it to do.
Just to mess with us. Yeah.
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 It's a very drinkable beer. It's just a different animal altogether.
Yeah, which I had no idea where to put it. I thought German Pils was the closest one because there's not really anything that it would fall into.
Yeah. And remind me, what hops did you say you used again?
The Styrian Goldings.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, kind of a spicy, noble hop type. Little bit of flavor
to
on
me,
that.
Like the beer Leffe or Leffe, however you say that Belgian blonde beer.
Mm-hmm.
So that aroma is Styrian hop. So I go Belgian blonde, which you guys before, but I've played with the hop character on that a lot, and I picked this hop, and it is dead nuts. I would be shocked if that's not what they're using. To me, that's where that aroma. Yeah. So that a little bit of red apple you were talking about, I think that's hop. I'd get that in the hop.
Interesting. Okay. I like Cooper saying it's just a different animal.
Yeah, and that's maybe what I got kind of when I said smoked, but it wasn't smoked. There was a little bit of like toasty Vienna character. And that's what I was thinking of. And it's late and I'm slightly tipsy. And that's kind of came out like, oh, it's smoked. No, that was definitely that Vienna character. Yeah. After, yeah.
As far as water, so it's 32 sulfate, 35 chloride, 27 sodium.
Okay.
Yeah, so real soft water overall.
Yeah. I think mash pH was 5.4, 5.5.
Wow. Yeah, I like it. I think that if you had not called it a Pilsner, which to me really, when I regardless of the exact details of the style guidelines, when I'm judging a Pilsner, I'm expecting a certain malt profile that involves a lot of Pilsner malt. And I think that if you'd called this a Vienna lager, I probably would have scored this a few points higher.
No, this is not a Vienna lager. Are you crazy? No, it's way too
disagree.
Bitter. You're high.
I would personally, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I would have scored it higher as a Vienna lager. The bitterness was not as outside of style as the not having Pilsner malt would be for a Pilsner beer. That's just me.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's an interesting 5D chess move because the category's 5D. Get it, guys?
3D chess is for toddlers. I'm into the 5D right now.
That's okay. That's interesting. That's an interesting insight into your brain.
Pilsner malt is so important to German Pilsner. It's in the name of the beer.
Well, is the name Pilsner malt beer, or is the name Pilsner malt because it's in the Pilsner region?
And that's a valid point, but the two are so intertwined.
Yeah.
That the absence of the Pilsner malt from this beer, to me, I'm just saying, to me as a judge, that is more of a deviation from the Platonic ideal of a Pilsner beer than the deviation of having too much bitterness would be for a Vienna lager for this beer being 100% Vienna malt.
It's fucking
you understand
lawyer
what I'm
talk,
saying?
Man. I know.
It's my brain. You're getting an insight into my brain,
absolutely.
which my family has to deal with every day.
It's super interesting because I didn't really even notice that. To me, I've had so many German Pilsners, American versions of them, of course, that the malt doesn't hit. Like I'm keyed to focus on the hop bite, the hop bitterness, the hop flavor, but more importantly, the yeast impact. I think that's where I'm conditioned to, because there's so many people who try to pass off fast lager, that narcissist fucking bullshit method, where it's like, that's what I'm looking for now. I'm trying to that there is, as long as that yeast character is there, that's 3/4 of the battle for me.
That's an important part of the battle, and narcissist can work. And it doesn't have to be bullshit, but I think that when people implement it, it comes out like bullshit 90% of the time, if not 95. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It can work. Like I can win the lottery, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
You can't win.
I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
It was the Eiger again, the 833. So I pitch it 44 degrees, hold it till Krautzen starts, and then let it raise it on its own to 50 and let it ride until it's done.
Yeah. That's the thing, is I told you, I like this beer. And this is one that, to me, the intangibles, this is what I would sit and drink. I would go out to your garage and sit in front of your kegerator and drink this with you until I just kind of fall asleep in whatever you have to fall asleep in out there.
Yeah, until you came home and then bear maced me. And
Debit Shar, why are you in my garage drinking my beer? Then the next thing you know, I'd be in the
thought
jail,
I killed you.
in South Carolina, and I'd be on some work crew like Cool Hand Luke, and it'd be bad.
Brian Shar, I think, would be, given a different timeline, he would be like one of those like Freddy Krueger or Jason or whatever, where like he kept coming back, but it wasn't to kill you, it was just to drink your beer. And you have to kill him and be like, we have to get rid of him now. And then like they drop a fridge on you, and at the end you just see the like your hand reach up to open the tap or something like that. That'd be you.
Exactly. Yeah, if I got dropped like 400 years in the past, I like to think that I'd like end up being in charge, but I would probably be in jail or get buried in a ditch or something. That's just the reality.
You'd be in charge.
Nice. Well done, JP.
All right, is that it, Colin?
Yeah, that's all I got. I figured I'd throw you guys a little ball. So
I appreciate it. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. A little too bitter, a little too aspirin for me. Otherwise, awesome. That's pretty fun. That's a fun thing. I appreciate it. Yeah, all right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to get Brian on the show and then do a Hazy IPA, which, yeah. All right, hang on, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
And so it's resumed or reconvened or whatever, and that sucks for me. Brian, what's up, man? Welcome back to the show. Brian Mills.
Thank you.
If I can dox your last name here, I apologize about that. Look at you. You have a professional microphone.
It's on the screen if you're watching.
That's true. You got a professional microphone set up. We're all professionals here. Look at that.
I know. Look at that.
Do a little gaming, little game streaming, or what?
I am a single adult with nobody to tell me how to spend my money.
So yes.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I've been working from home for, since the beginning of the pandemic. The not so great work computer audio quality. So I took it upon myself to improve that. Yeah.
It's so awful, man. Yeah.
Get yourself a real sound card.
Yeah. My thing.
Yeah. So there's external speakers involved now and, lighting effects and everything.
Okay. What are you streaming? What are you streaming when you gaming?
I'm not gaming.
Just for work.
Literally just for work.
Yeah.
You have the light effects from work, or like you get a new I don't know, spreadsheet to open and like fireball effects happen behind you, or
well, I mean, at least just front lighting versus
right.
Poor
I
lighting.
see.
Like,
Okay.
Back here you can't really see, but there's a window, and during the day it's all backlit, and you can't see my face at all.
Oh, nice, dude. Okay, I got you. All right. Well, it's not as exciting as if you were streaming, but that's okay.
No, well, I mean, I am now, but
See, yeah, okay. Gotcha. Well, what did you send us, man? You sent us a hazy IPA, huh?
Yeah, just for you.
All right, I love that, man. And it's hazy. Look at that. It's orange juice. That's for sure. Is this, I forget, is this something you've done before?
I forget
what you've sent us.
I've only done a couple of hazy IPAs. It's not really my thing, even though I am on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Brother, I'm on the West Coast. West Coast IPAs are not my thing either. So, like, going to the East Coast whenever we did like homebrew cons and shit like that, or back then it was NHCs. East Coast IPAs were for me far superior than West Coast IPAs because I like that malty. that's my. I don't know, man. If I'm going to drink a beer, I want to taste that. I just don't want like a hop and alcohol delivery, shotgun to the face,
like the old school Harpoon IPA.
Yeah, man. Something like that.
Extreme bitterness, 100 IBUs, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I don't want that.
Back in the IBU wars.
Yeah.
We all survived the IBU wars, man.
Yeah, they're. I feel like they're happening again. But I don't know. Every time I talk about the IBU wars, or we call them that, or whatever, I just think of the intro to fucking Strange Brew. Or like walking on the, in the Star Trek costumes, and they're walking on the rocks somewhere. The ping pong ball,
oh
anyway.
God, yeah. Or like Demolition Man, where there's like the fast food wars of the 80s, and Taco Bell is the only one that survived.
Hell yeah.
Now all food is Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's the best.
Yeah.
All right. So Hazy IPA, is this the first one you've sent to us? Because you have sent other beers. I feel like you've sent us this before.
No, I don't think I've sent you an IPA at all.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I try to take care of you. But,
yeah, thanks, man.
I sent another beer in, and there was space in the box, and I'm like, JP needs a hazy IPA.
I need a hazy IPA. I haven't had one in a while. There was a 2 or 3 months, I think, Cooper, where all we were getting was hazy IPAs.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah, I remember that.
Which is fine. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, and the other thing was like it was a little bit of a risk to package that and send it across the country in August. So I was curious how it actually turned out in the bottle over there.
Hey man, we're a testing ground.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. We talked in the last show how the back of that UPS, FedEx, USPS truck, in August that could be 120, 130 degrees in the back there, and even if it's just getting driven from the airport to somebody's house, just those few hours. I mean, man, that's what was on the session, years ago. Someone talked about some chemical reaction law, not even talking about the biology issue, where like every 10 degrees Fahrenheit higher that temperature is, chemical reactions proceed twice as fast. So you jack the temperature up, 50 degrees from 70, and it's like 2 to the 5th power. Faster reaction. So the staling just is instant. And the high temperatures just play havoc with beer. So it's why beers from Europe don't do well on the West Coast and vice versa, is they got to sit in a container all the way across the country where there's a giant desert for, days on end, and they just cook.
Preach, brother.
Yeah.
I was happy to see as he held it up, it didn't look either purple or brown. So that was a good
Yeah, my beers, when I homebrewed a lot, the dangerous side is they turned pink. There's a pink tinge. Like, oh shit.
No.
That pink tinge was very bad.
I've brewed a lot of bad beer in my life, but it's never changed colors.
Dude, you're not as bad a brewer as I am.
No.
Oh,
No.
Hazy's change color real fast.
Yeah,
you
they
get
do.
little oxygen in a hazy, and it goes from bright yellow with just like powdery, haziness to brown in an instant. It's just like, yeah.
That's not good.
No.
Well, Brian, what's up with this beer, man? Are you just looking for like hints to make it better? Are you looking for just a score to see how it would do, or you just want to kill some time?
Yeah, just some general feedback. Like I said, I don't actually, even though being on the East Coast, I don't brew a lot of IPAs in general, and definitely not a lot of hazies. So yeah, some general feedback on improvements would be welcome.
Okay, sweet. Shar, why don't you start the man off?
Will do. So, Brian, thanks for sharing your beer. You've been on the show before. I said this last show to another guest. If I always ask my usual question, if the listeners are that curious about whether you're in a homebrew club or not, listen to some archives. They should know by now. We should all know by now. I'm not going to waste all of our time with that.
I don't remember, but I think he's probably a lone wolf.
I think he is.
No, I am in a homebrew club.
Oh, and we're the professionals and we don't remember that. What's the name of your club?
Lebanon Area Fermenters.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
So
Laugh.
it's Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Nice. That's I like Pennsylvania. I don't think I've ever been to Lebanon. So maybe someday if we have HomebrewCon in Philly again, we'll get a chance to see you in person. That'd be nice.
Is that a splinter group?
It's not. Where's the fermentation guy of Lebanon? He's over there. Exactly. So, my palate. I judged this beer about 4 hours ago, and I had this problem in the last show. My palate must have exploded about 4 hours ago, or something happened because I don't know. I judged this beer about 4 hours back, and Cooper was kind of scratching his head when I texted him with my score. And I'm like, oh no, but it's like this, and this. I don't get any of that now. And it's not just this beer, Brian. It was the previous guest and the previous show. I don't know what I did to myself.
You start out your day in a bad mood like JP's been in all night.
Shut up, fucker.
I started my day I've been in a great mood all day. I've gotten stuff done. I've been life is good, but I don't know.
I almost canceled the show like 4 times tonight.
It's like my nose or my tongue or something was just totally on tilt about 4 hours back. And as we're kind of bantering to begin the show, I'm revisiting the aroma and the flavor like I like to do. I mean, the banter, we're not just hilarious human beings. It does serve the purpose on the show of kind of coming back to these things that we might have judged yesterday or earlier in the day, just confirming or whatever. And this is the third beer. I'm like, God damn, this is totally different from what I judged. So I don't know what was wrong with my body or brain or something 4 hours back.
I can tell you.
Get on with it.
I'm going to give you my impression of what it is right now. And I did kind of dynamically rescore you here as we go. So sorry about that, Coop. Initial impression for the aroma. So bottle inspection. It's a bottle. It's fine. I'll be curious later for you to tell us if this was bottle conditioned or filled from a keg. I kind of am guessing it was filled from a keg based on something you'd said earlier on. But regardless, initial impression. What I had initially was, it's fusely. It's a fusel fruitiness. I don't get that at all now. And if it was really fusel alcohol, that doesn't blow off. That doesn't go away. That's not a thing like H2S or some weird volatile. Sometimes you get weird volatiles you can't even really characterize. And you open a bottle and you're like, whoa, that's bad. And in 10 seconds, you'll never smell it again. Okay, so in the long run, so what? Who cares? I initially thought this was kind of fusely. And again, I don't know what was my problem. This is not a fusel aroma. This is an aroma that I get a lot of stone fruit, and I get some It's an interesting combination to me. I get stone fruit, like kind of a peachy, maybe Galaxy hop. This Galaxy tends to throw just a wonderful peach character. But I get some citrus. 4 hours ago, I didn't get the citrus. This has been sitting out open on my kitchen counter for 4 hours. It's better than it was when I opened it up. Again, this is previous guest, previous show. It's not your beers. It's my stupid brain and nose and tongue or whatever was going on with it. It's probably medium. I'd say medium to medium high aroma. I get some low, just base malt in the background. I had a note. Fusel character is more than hop character. No, not at all. Again, I was on tilt. Flavor or aroma, I give that an 8 out of 12. I think it's really nicely done. Appearance, hazy clarity as expected. You can't really see it on the camera. I guess it's a podcast. So the vast majority of people hearing this won't have a chance to see the camera because it's hazy and the way the light is. You get kind of a couple of bands of lighter gold on the edges and like sort of a golden brown, light brown in the middle, which is just inherent in like any kind of. This beer is not so dark that it's opaque and it's uniform. It's not so light that it's uniform, but it's in that kind of interesting. You don't see this very often. It's in that interesting state of haziness where you get that like a color banding that you don't see in a beer sample very much. So that's kind of cool. The head is low and persistent. Even when I poured, and if the first time I opened it up and I poured this in the center of the glass, I like to be consistent when I pour, whether I'm doing it at home for Dr. Homebrew or in a competition. I like to pour slowly in the center of the glass to give head a chance to form. And I just didn't get much head at all. So
Sorry,
I gave that, took a point. I know it sucks, huh?
Yeah.
I give this 2 out of 3. And again, that could be bottle variation. I clean these glasses. I try to do a good job. Maybe I did a shitty job on this one glass. Who knows? Flavor, initially, 4 hours ago, I got a Fusel-like flavor. There's no Fusels in here. I get initially.
My favorite part about when Brian does this is that he's like punishing himself. He's punishing his past self. He's like, "There's
fucking
no Fusels
stupid
in
bad
here.
self.
You fucking
Stupid
idiot."
past self.
Yeah, so dumb. He's gonna like self-flagellate in the corner at an altar, like old bottles of Russian River. He's gonna kneel down and just whip himself.
Oh God, JP, that's punishing my past self is not just the Dr. Homebrew thing.
No,
but again, we don't have the hours it'll take for me to have that.
I'll give you my therapist number, dude.
It's a
She's
different
really
type of doctor.
have that BS mental health quarter to discuss it. We don't. There's not enough hours in the day to go over all that. I get that kind of stone fruit and citrus that I got in the aroma in the flavor, which is very pleasant. It's the bitterness is fairly low, but it's not going to be real high in a hazy IPA. Hazy IPA can be, very, very low bitterness up to a firm, it could be a firm Pilsner beer type bitterness. And here, I get kind of maybe a medium low, which is great for the style. It balances, some of the malt here. I think it comes off great. The flavor of that sort of stone fruit citrus combination about mid palate starts ramping down into a long finish, and that finish is tilted toward hop flavor. A lot of the times talk about the finish is it balanced toward bitterness or malt flavor. Here it's more of a balance between hop flavor and maybe malt and bitterness. But the hop flavor is definitely the direction that Seesaw is tipping. It's sort of a medium duration finish. I like it. It's well attenuated. 12 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel, body's medium. Carbonation is low. Not unusual for a hazy IPA. It's not warming. It's more creamy than astringent. The carbonate, I stand by. The carbonation to me was low in this bottle out of the gate. And of course, it's lower now, having sat open for 4 hours on my kitchen counter. But that's 1 point. That's 4 out of 5 for mouthfeel. Overall impression, I gave this a 6 for a total of 32. Thank you for sharing very much. My comments had to do initially with fusels. That's in the past. I think it's well done. Is it a professional, commercial hazy IPA? No, but frankly, I think this is a challenging style to brew at home. I think to keep it hazy, you've got to have that malt bill right. You got to have the oats. You got to have, or something like that, something that gives you the haziness, but also the mouthfeel. Looking at my notes again, it's not just medium, it's medium full body, which is kind of where a lot of hazy IPAs land. And frankly, it's where like my favorite commercial examples, like, some original pattern is probably for the last year or two been about in Oakland. I don't think they distribute very widely. Probably about one of my favorite hazy IPAs, if I'm going to drink that style, and maybe some Moxa from Sacramento. And they tend to be, medium to medium full body. They're a little bit different color, but this color is fine. This is totally within style guidelines. It managed to make it across the country in August, in a hot August, where I don't know what it's like in Pennsylvania. It's been the last couple of weeks here. It's been 90 to 100, probably closer to 100 for highs. And it cools off at night. That's nice. But, it is not the best time of year to ship beer. And you know what, dude? This beer came through pretty well. So I think, 32 is pretty solid. It's in the very good category. Probably if I could, like we talked before, if I could just come and, sleep in your garage and just kind of reach up to your tap whenever I kind of woke up enough to want some more and have some, it's probably a 40 plus pointer in your house. It's just getting from all the way across the country from there to here is going to take a little bit of a toll. But yeah, I think it's a good beer, and thank you for sharing.
What was the score? Sorry,
I gave it a 32. I think I might have told it. I rescored on the way. I think I added up right, but I can go back and check.
He's like a grifter. You want to watch out if he might end up on your porch someday if you enter this show. Just a warning.
More of a drifter than a grifter, but
Whoa.
A drifter. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Like a sifter. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to hear Cooper's score and then learn the recipe, and then we're going to get out of here. So hang on, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Kings. Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for sticking around. All right, Coop, let's go. What do you think about this hazy IPA? Let's do it.
All right.
Let's get after it, brother.
I agree with Brian. I like the some of the different hazy IPAs. We get some really good ones from Monkish down in Torrance, California. Like Original Pattern here locally, and East Bay and Oakland is doing a good job. But there's better and better ones all the time. Like our local brewery, Shadow Puppet, won some awards for some of their hazies.
Shadow Puppet's great. I didn't mean to leave them out.
They're having some fun too. So yeah. There's no shortage of the West Coast version of something that started on the East Coast, apparently. That everybody wanted, to take a crap on at first. But if you sit down and taste them, there's something there. It's there's a reason that this style exists and it's become so popular. It's because it's you have to be kind of a little bit demented and twisted to enjoy something that's so bitter that it's going to melt your face off. There's something wrong with you.
You mean like the Joker? This is the like Joker's beer style.
100 IBU beers, 120.
Damn, the original, the OG Joker.
Yeah, we were all being the fucking Joker because we're a little bit twisted and broken inside.
But Hazy IPAs brought something that was really good, nice hop aroma, softened it up. The one thing about hazies that I don't, is like the body is a little much for me sometimes on some of them. I like a good West Coast that dries out. You still get the hops. It's there. Or what I would call a juicy IPA where the bitterness is out of the way. Nevertheless, we're going to judge this as a 21C Hazy IPA. Had a good fill level, appropriate size cap, blah, blah, blah. In the nose, I'm getting kind of a nice, bright tangerine-like citrusiness and a juicy quality, fairly upfront. It seems, somewhat fresh smelling, a bit, something a little sharp about it, but it's not harsh or too biting or too weird. It's in the territory where it needs to be, as far as like having some kind of stone fruit and some citrus, and it's not leaning towards like the tropical side that you get in a lot of them. But there's a range of interpretation, so you can use whatever more modern hops you want to use in it. So it's got, the low grainy background malt is kind of out of the way. It is definitely hop forward and fruity. I get like, you were talking about peach. I get like kind of like the little bit of the kind of peach rings candy kind of a thing. There are some hints.
That's a great, like a peach ring, dried peach. That's a better descriptor than I had. I agree with you, Coop.
Well, thank you. It's just, it hits you like that. It's there's a little tropical punch like ding in it too. There's a good, good variety of hops. There's definitely some stone fruit though. The beer is hop focused. No DMS or diacetyl. It's cleanly fermented ale. Nice esters in there alongside the hop fruitiness. Appearance wise, it's an orangey light amber color. It's on the darker end for the style, but it is quite substantially hazy as you'd expect, with a white head, mostly finer bubbles that sticks around nicely. I give it a 3 out of 3 for appearance. It looks fine to me. In the flavor, fairly prominent fruity hop notes up front. The peach and tangerine again. Soft bitterness. There's a faint little minerally edge to it, only just a very little bit. Clean ale again. It just seems like it was fermented very well, with some biotransformation of those hops to get that stone fruit element in there so strongly. It's nice and dry in the finish. And you get that stone fruit in the aftertaste, along with a low base malt only. It's just there to support, a little bit of alcohol. It doesn't seem like it's super firm, but it might be up in the higher 6s or so. I don't know. Maybe even 7. Mouthfeel wise, medium bodied, fairly soft, not creamy or anything. No astringency, no warmth really. Maybe a touch. Medium carbonation. I think it feels where it wants to be, kind of body-wise, medium to medium full. But I think it just could be a little softer for the style. There's a little bit of an edge to it in the mouthfeel that kind of grips your tongue. And it should kind of flow off and just be a little smoother. But it's in the territory. Did 3 out of 5 for mouthfeel. I'd say this is a well-made hazy IPA with most all of the desired elements. A fairly soft and fairly well hop presentation. Do I want more hops? Yeah. I'd like a little more fresh hop character, a little more of the late hop character to come out. And it might have been killed in transport. I don't know, a little bit, but it tastes like a little bit of an older or abused hazy IPA and just color wise, you get the hints when you see it's gone a little bit amber. It's not into brown, which is nice. but sometimes these things start out yellow and they go dark. I don't know if you're drinking the same one there locally. We'll see if there's a color difference, but I'd like to kind of smooth out the edges on this. It's got a little bit of a minerally edge. And I don't know where your chloride to sulfate ratio is, but you want to go usually for a 2-to-1 on that, more chlorides than sulfates, which is what helps to soften out the feel of these, soften the attack. If you use too many sulfates, it's going to be a little harsher. You can also use a little lighter mineral water overall to start with. If you're not building from RO, use a good quality water and blend in some distilled, and then up your chlorides from there to get to 2-to-1 or so. The color indicates either the use of some darker malts or perhaps the beginning of some oxidation creeping in that really quickly starts detracting from a fresh hop finish. And it could be that when it was fresher, it was, I've tasted them, I've made them, and that you taste, from one day to a few days later, it's like, oh, it's sliding downhill. I can't drink all of this right now, but I don't have to share it. Or it's not a beer that you want to sit on for too long at all. And this is another style where it's like, how did this style get so popular? Because wow, these things go downhill fast. But when you get them fresh and you have that, the freshly canned or bottled homebrewed or commercial hazy IPAs, they can be really nice. And sometimes they also start out with a little more hop bite. That's one thing I'll say about it. There's zero hop bite here, where like there's hop bite is coming from the hop particles in suspension in the beer, where you've dry hopped the hell out of it and you haven't gotten that all to settle out, and you're bottling it, canning it, whatever you're doing, and some of that stuff comes over. Sometimes you get those cans from the brewery, it's a little harsh at first. That's not the roughness that I'm getting from here. It's like, I think it's a minerally thing. It's not a hot burn. It's something else here that's just giving a little edge that I don't really want. Overall, it's a pretty nice beer. I think it's not getting papery or cardboardy or anything like this. It's just the freshness and the intensity of the hops is going down, and fine points. But I would land at a 35 on this beer. I think it's still like in the very good category, and to get to excellent, having it fresher, or upping the hops, maybe playing with your minerals. I'd like to talk about what you did with your water and where your chloride to sulfate ratio is, if you have those numbers. But it's a really good attempted style, and it's fun to drink, and it's smooth, and it kind of says all of the things it needs to do. I like the peach, the stone fruit character in this is really nice, and it's fun. But and I'd like to hear what JP has to say about it too, because
what was your final score?
35.
Sounds like
I'm sure JP has thoughts about this.
The thing about these beers is that for the most part, I love the aroma. If I could just have the aroma in a different taste, that would be ideal for me. And a different alcohol level too, because I'm a very sensitive, nice boy. But the aroma is very great. It is like a peach O, not a sour peach O, but like a peach candy, very light, very. Yeah, I almost want you to put peaches in here and fucking sour it. Because it's
that would be so good.
Because there is like a sweetness to it. There's like almost a tart thing. Maybe it's perception. I don't know, but like something about that calls to me. I don't know, like a nice bright, kind of sour blend. But anyway, I digress. I like the mouthfeel. It's light. I think it's a little bitter, a little too astringently bitter for me, for my taste. I know these beers should have some bitterness to them, and it's that contrast in my mind between that sort of sweet, quote unquote, juicy mouthfeel with the bitterness that is the draw here. But I think this might be, just for me, a little too much. I don't know anything about the style guidelines, so I don't know. But to me, this is almost like a drinkable beer for my tastes. Not drinkable as in like,
it's almost drinkable.
I can't drink it, but like drinkable as in like, I could finish a pint of this. Like if someone's like, dude, check this out. I don't know that I could do a pint of this. If it was just reduce the bitterness a little bit, I could probably do it. But I think the flavors are there. I like that sort of peachy. It's not even like a stone fruit necessarily, but it's like a peachy apricot, like that in that zone of the stone fruit that I really like. I think that's a fantastic flavor. And if you can figure out how that happened, maybe it was a yeast thing, I don't know, and work the hops around that also, you could have a really killer sort of, vibe happening in this glass. So I would give it a 37.
Oh, yeah.
And from a dipshit, that should mean a lot.
To kind of go back to what you were saying, what's interesting to me, I think the best examples of hazy IPA have a degree of bitterness. They're not West Coast IPA.
No, right.
They're not, to me, they're flabby if they're at like 5 or 10 IBU. I want something kind of like, I need some structure. Right. Yeah. Wine, it's tannin. For beer, like especially like a malty beer, like a hazy IPA can be, that structure has to come from bitterness. Otherwise, it's going to be flabby and kind of sweet and not great. Brian's looking at me like I'm not like I'm talking. I don't know.
You just called hazy IPA a malty beer, but I'll forgive you for that.
It can be.
Right? It can have body.
You need to have some oats, some kind of malt, some body there. And maybe malty is the wrong word. Maybe it's more full of body, but there's potentially more malt in a hazy IPA than in a West Coast IPA. So you have to have something to kind of balance that to keep it from being just, flabby, sweet, whatever. So the best examples, like I was lucky to have a coworker 10 years ago that lived out east and out in like Connecticut, and he would go back east like once a month, and he'd bring back some Treehouse beer back when hazy IPA was starting, and those were firmly bitter as well as being hazy. And kind of my impression of hazy IPA came from those East Coast like Treehouse beers, because that was then I had some that were less bitter, and like now they're flabby. I don't like them.
Here's the thing, mine too. I had Treehouse. Someone sent Trillium into the show, and it fucking sucked. It was
I've not had Trillium.
It was aspirin, and it was canned like a week previous, and it was the fucking most heinous thing I've ever had from a fucking commercial brewery. It was awful, and I don't understand how that beer like has the accolades it has, because it was not good. And maybe shipping damaged it, because it is those hyper fresh, hyper local beers. So I don't, I know the brewery makes great beer, but like the beer that we had was not good.
Yeah.
And Warren and I were like, how do people enjoy this? I don't fucking get it. But I think the style has evolved because people learned how to make it. Where in the beginning it was like, let's put a bunch of yeast in here. We got all the cloudiness, we got the thing, and we don't really know what the fuck is going on. And it was chunky and whatever, but now people understand how to manipulate the yeast and do that. Now it's the style. So you almost have to like erase what you learned about it and just deal with what's in front of you now if you want to understand this style.
My opinion is that Heady Topper remember back in the day, 15 years ago, from Heady Topper, we couldn't get it in California at all. And people would line up for literally 4, 5, 6 hours in their car to go drive up and get or whatever, to go up to the brewery in, was it Vermont or something, and get that stuff. And people were paying like $100 a 6-pack on Craigslist and shit. People were going to jail for like distribution for driving up there and selling it in Florida and the South and shit.
Good. I hope they enjoyed their time.
But what's interesting to me, like canning and hazy IPA are hand in hand. So I think Heady Topper had to can because it looked like shit, because it was all lumpy yeast and whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it was also at risk of exploding if they put it in a bottle. And they made the decision, I'm guessing, this is pure guesswork. I think they made the decision based on what I've seen and read about that beer. They put it in cans so it wouldn't explode, and you couldn't see how it looked until you poured it out, and then it was fine. It smelled and tasted great. And then people tried to replicate it, and then they had to use the cans because they were chunky, the gravy beers of 9-10 years ago, trying to replicate that.
I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't written on the cans, part of the instruction was to drink it from the cans and not pour it out.
Oh my God. I'm sure you're right. I'm sure that's right. Yeah.
Drink from the can.
I'm sure that's right.
Let's get into recipe because we're running out of time here.
Yeah, sure. So I made this beer to feature a new hop that I had got some samples on. It's called Aroma. So it's AHHHROMA.
Where's that? What do you know where that's from? Like what grower or?
It is Glacier Hop Ranch in Montana.
Huh.
I mean, I know what they're trying to do, and I think it's
I never heard of that.
Cute for 20 years ago.
Yeah, they had a panel at CBC that I went to and got some sample packets from there and brought home. Okay. So I wanted to kind of make a beer to try to feature that. Their descriptors on it are pineapple, mango, pear, lime. With that
lime. I think those things can develop into peach with the malt undertones. Lime, peach, or lime, pineapple, mango with the sweet malt. I think you can just, it comes to peach for me.
You just blew my mind, JP. I think you're right. And I never thought about that. And you're not about you being right, but about the combination of flavors. That's you're blowing my mind. I think you're onto something.
So when I talk about the malt, you might even put the 2 and 2 together to come to 5. So it was about 60% 2-row, and then a little bit, about 19% white wheat malt. And
sorry, what percent?
About 19%.
Okay,
and
okay.
The malt, not an unmalted flake.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
White wheat, and then 6% flaked wheat.
Okay.
That's a pretty low percentage of starches in there. But yeah, I mean, you got the permanent haze that you want, so that's good.
Yep. And then 3% addition of honey malt.
Oh, the honey malt.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually, you've listened to this show. We are not fans of honey malt. 3% is probably just enough to keep it from being overwhelming and weird.
Well, I think it might be what's making it taste a little bit towards the oxidized and old side. Whereas if you kept it out, it might just be fresher tasting and have less of that in the way. But that's my take.
Yeah, honey does kind of have the honey malt tend to have a darker thing. The leaving it out might brighten it up a little bit. I like honey malt, but it's very few and far between.
I don't mind honey malt. I think Brian's the only one who hates it.
I tend to really dislike it.
Get us in trouble.
We hate honey malt.
We all do.
Yeah.
Right,
it's just one of those things where, if people use it, if they don't understand why they're using it and they put in too much, it doesn't work out. But Brian, you've been brewing for a while. You homebrew a lot. You know not to. You know what happens? You put in 5-10% heavy honey malt. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, so I wanted this to finish fairly dry, but still have that characteristic, a little bit of sweetness that a hazy IPA has.
Yeah,
I like it. I think it's fine in here.
Then there was
I don't hate it.
Also 12% table sugar.
Okay.
So
interesting for a hazy IPA.
Yeah,
but I also get where that's going to get your body to not be, this giant, full-bodied mess.
Sugar from a table. It seems weird to me, but why not? Who am I to
just brush it off into the mash tun? You're good.
Wood sugars. So it started off at 1079, and this is an 8.9% beer.
8.9%?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, I was venturing up towards, it might be 7. You were probably laughing.
Maybe 7%.
No, there's a little alcohol there for sure. I felt it and I tasted it. It's not too
I did not, but I blame this Imperial Stout.
And why don't you call it a double hazy? A double hazy IPA.
Well,
Imperial hazy.
Yeah, but that's not a category though.
Specialty IPA, dude. Yeah. Specialty IPA covers a multitude of sins.
And you
12% imperial, double
hazy.
imperial hazy.
You can double anything.
Tasting this, I did not know that.
It's deceptive alcohol though. It's well hidden in there.
Did we cover hops?
Yeah, so hops, the first hops went in at Whirlpool at 180 degrees. It was 4 ounces of those aroma hops, 2 ounces of Laurel, and an ounce of Azaka.
You did the hop bursting, all the hops at the end, no bittering hops at the beginning.
No bittering hops at all.
Gotcha.
And then at day 2 of fermentation, there was another 4 ounces of the aroma hop and an ounce of Laurel. And then later in fermentation, about 5 days in, was 2 ounces of Azaka.
Okay.
Cooper was asking about water. I did start from RO, and there's calcium's at about 60, sulfate 55, sodium 10, chlorides 95.
I would have gone 93 on the chlorides, but that's me. I mean, I don't know.
No, if you're at 55 sulfate, you need to be 110.
Yeah.
Do you? Why? What does that mean?
It's 2 to 1. It's 2 to 1, dude. That's the magic formula.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. But I would bring the sulfates down. I would bring the sulfates down in the 30s or 40s. 30s or 40s, maybe. Okay. Push the sulfates up to 80, 90, 100, 110. I don't know. Just
Jesus Christ, dude.
You don't want to go. You don't want to go
a window of 80 to 110. Whatever.
Yes.
Fucking just whatever. Saying numbers until he said something.
Well, until it starts tasting like pickle juice, then you stop.
Then you add pickle juice.
Yeah. Then you call it a pickle beer.
No, I would say 40 sulfate.
Yeah, I think I could do that and get it a little bit softer. Even out of the keg, I noticed that like a little bit of that harshness that you were talking about. This was brewed for an event last weekend, and I was trying to hit that magical range where you were talking about, like, if it's too early, you in all those hops, you a lot of times get that hop burn, but then it falls off really fast.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty good out of the keg last weekend.
Nice.
What was the event that you brewed for?
It was there's a group here that's doing a statewide homebrew competition.
Oh, nice.
So they do 5 regional events around the state, and then the top 3 from each one go on to the state finals.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So and it was a hit at the party. Everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah. Everybody thought it. Well, I mean, the only ones I heard from are the ones I like, and I'm sure there are people that didn't.
Did we talk about yeast yet?
London Ale 3, 67 degrees.
Okay.
That's like perfect. The yeast, right?
One of the classics for a hazy IPA. Yeah. Low attenuer, low flocculation. Yeah.
Yeah. So it what this batch finished at, where is it? 1018.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
all
bad.
Those sugars. It didn't go super low, but
yeah.
No.
You keep some body in there too. But yeah, right. I mean, I think there's a misperception in that yeast it stays in suspension, and it's not really. The yeast is it drives some of the biotransformation of the hop compounds and turns some of those sharper things into nice soft, like peachy or apricot like things. And I think the yeast did its job here. It's pretty pretty nice. I'd like a little more of the tropical edge to come through. I don't know that particular hop or hop blend that you're using, but it's fun to experiment with stuff like that when it smells good in the bag. You're like, I could use this in a hazy IPA and have some fun with it.
Yep.
Why not? Just go to town. You got the hops for free anyway.
Right.
Dump them in and blend some other hops in that you like on the dry hop and have some fun. That's cool.
Yeah, like reading through their description, I was just trying to find some complementary type hops to that.
Yeah.
But
That's one of the fun things about home brewing is like sometimes you just order some hops or you buy some hops at the homebrew store and you've never tried them before, but they have some kooky name, maybe awesome or whatever, and you just want to play with them. And that's just you're relying on someone else's verbal description of what they tasted, and then you read it. So like you have all these different modes of communication that are all, getting in the way of between you and the aroma and taste of those hops. But those descriptions make sense and they're real. And this you have to go on, and it's fun just to play around,
Yeah. And I was fortunate attending that seminar. It was a panel discussion where they had people, commercial brewers that had brewed with it. And we got to have samples from 4 or 5 different, breweries that had brewed beers with it.
It's like, okay, people can brew good beer with this. I'm ready to go.
Right.
I'm sad I missed you at CBC,
and I was like, all right,
man.
I gotta go around and steal as many of these hops as I can.
I went to the exhibitor only thing at CBC. I wish I'd known you were there. I was in Nashville there for CBC for a few days, and next time.
Yeah, the best part of that seminar was like it's all commercial brewers, and they're sitting there with these little 1 ounce sample packs, and most of them left them behind because what are they going to do with them? I'm like, I gotta take these.
That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah,
that's so cool.
That's recycling at its finest, Brian.
Yeah,
hell yeah, that's upcycling, man.
Yeah. All right. If there's not anything else,
no,
we're all going to get out of here at the same time.
Yeah. I think I got what I was looking for. I work on some water adjustments, but I think the basic recipe's got some good stuff going with it.
Yeah,
it's minor, but I'm surprised that you're the permanent chill haze, and that's what it is. In a hazy IPA, it's permanent chill haze, combination of polyphenols from the hops with starches in the malt that are proteins in the malt. I'm sorry, that make that permanent chill haze. So that's what you're doing. It's not yeast. It's not anything else. It's just mixing those two things, and it stays in there, and you don't filter it out or fine it out. But I'm surprised with so few, unmalted grains in the grist that you got. It was just 6% flaked oats, was it? Or
yes,
or wheat, but yeah. I would usually go start with 15 and do a blend of oats and wheat, both unmalted. Leave out the unmalted, or leave out the wheat malt, and just switch in for flaked wheat. But you use that White Winter malted wheat, and it worked fine for you, and that's cool. But
and I've done what you've done in the past, where it's a mixture of flaked wheat and flaked oats, and this time I wanted to try that white wheat. I've heard some other people talk about using that. So
it's a nice malt, for sure. Yeah. And you want wheat character in it. It helps to add to that, the body and that nice little graininess in the background. It's not going to offend anybody, get in the way of the hops or anything. So it's a nice addition. And you could play with the ratio there, pull that back a little bit, maybe add some more oats and flaked oats, flaked wheats. I use the Quaker minute oats, and they're just great. Just throw them in great quantities and have fun. It doesn't hurt.
They're cheaper than the ones you get at the homebrew store.
Yeah, for sure.
True.
Does the same thing.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to get out of here. Brian, what happens when Brian, everyone goes, huh?
Hello?
What happens if someone wants to be on the show? What do they do?
You can do it. You can type Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com into your mail sending apparatus and send an email to me, and I will get back to you and say, here's how you get. It's a really long-winded instruction that tells you how to get your beer on our show. But
no,
I'm never long-winded in emails except when I send those ones. I tell people exactly how to do it, when to brew it, and how to get it here in ideal condition without it falling off a truck on the back. I don't know. Yeah, Brian.
I will say in the years that we've done this, I could probably count on one hand how many bottles we've had break.
Yeah.
Well,
one of Colin's commercial beers that he shared with us was all over in the package. So that's why one of us only got one beer. You only got the one oatmeal or the one imperial stout.
What was the one? What was the one that broke? What else?
It was a sour. I think it was a Brett beer. He said,
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
The Brett got a little wild in transport, I guess.
If you said it was a Pilsner or something like that, I would have been pissed. No. Brian at thebrainnetwork.com.
Yep.
Send an email, be on the show. You too can watch us, figure out how to navigate the show.
And if your name is Brian, you can join the Council of the Bryans, as we said here today.
Yeah, we're going to get a progressive council going eventually where every Brian will have to stay on the line while another Brian joins.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I don't know. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate it. And until next time.